What if I told you that as you continue to work, it comes a time when it actually starts to cost you more to keep working than it does to retire? But how do we know when it is time to retire? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 reasons why it might be time for you to retire. Hey guys, Eric Martel here, and every week I put out videos to help you get the most out of life with your money. So make sure you click the like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos. Let's get started. There are obvious reasons why you might need to keep working, and many of those reasons are financial in nature. Obviously there's incomes, benefits, 401k, but at some point the marginal benefit of those extra dollars begin to fade and actually starts to cost you to keep working. And I'm going to share with you 5 factors that will cause this. And when this happens, it might be better for you to retire rather than continue working. Reason number 1 is when you start to realize that time is the only non-renewable currency. There's always more money to be made. It might be difficult, of course, but the key is to make money without investing your time in exchange. So you have to find a source of income that is passive, which means that it doesn't require a lot of your time. You have to find a source of income that is recurring, which means that it continues to come in, that revenue continues to come in once the income stream is set up. And you have to find a source of income that can scale. So let's say there's an investment out there where you can put in $10,000 and that investment generates $100 in cash flow a month. And once you set up that investment, the money keeps coming in and you don't have to do any work after that. Well, that's pretty sweet, isn't it? So you want to do more of that investment, wouldn't you? That's why it is important to find a source of income, of passive income, that is recurring and scalable when you just keep adding and doing more of that same thing. Earlier in our career, money matters less than time does. We all felt like we had all the time in the world. I'm no different. When I bought my apartment building at 18 years old, I didn't think about passive income, and I didn't think about early retirement and building wealth. It was an experiment. I wanted to prove to myself that I was able to buy an apartment building. I was able to make passive income. There will come a time in your career when you will feel that the time spent at work is taking time away for more important things. I met a lot of people who kept on working in their older years. Didn't travel anywhere, didn't have friends outside of work, didn't have sports or hobbies they enjoyed. Imagine how difficult it is to travel in your 80s. You want to enjoy life as early as possible. Yes, you need to be financially ready. Yes, you need to make sure that you're prepared. But once you are ready, once you are prepared, the more you put off retirement, the less time you have for yourself, and that time is never coming back. This isn't to say everyone can just retire and have all the time in the world if you don't have the financial wherewithal to do it. This is why I spend so much time discussing the importance of building a passive income portfolio. Now here's the second reason it might be time for you to retire, is that you may need to improve your health. Now imagine the average person who is years away from retirement. They've spent 40 years working 9 to 5 with 2 weeks vacation a year. They spend 40 years putting in overtime. They spend years paying off a mortgage, raising a family, saving money so that one day they can retire. Picture that person as someone who's overstressed, overworked, burnt out. So by the time that person actually reaches retirement, they're burnt out, stressed out, and that leads to negative health outcomes. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, stroke, cardiovascular issues. There are all kinds of negative health impacts that stress can cause. You also have to realize that in those later working years, when you're in your peak earning years, you might also be in your peak stress years. So if you're in a job that's demanding a lot of you, realize it's demanding more than just your time. It is also taking a toll on your health, and if your health deteriorates, it can become very challenging, if not impossible, to fully recover from it. So it might be time for you to retire if you realize work isn't just taking your time away, it's also starting to take your health away. Retirement might be a way to get your health back on track. Now the third reason it might be time for you to retire is to spend more time with family and friends. The quality of our relationships is largely what determines the quality of our lives. When I look back at my corporate career, I worked 40 to 60 hours a week, met thousands of coworkers, connected with them on LinkedIn and exchanged these canned messages for birthdays and new projects. Never really building that long-term friendship because we were seeing each other at work every day. Why spend more time outside of work, right? You need to build friendships outside of work, which means getting your time back and spending more of that time doing sports and making new connections. Too often, people say that they just don't have time to stay in touch with friends. I don't have the time to call my sister, my parents, or my children, or whatever else it might be, because my work is so demanding. You don't want to hear your children say that they haven't spent enough time with you when they were young, or that you missed their birthdays and generally absent from the most important times in their lives. Visualize your children going through the photo album of their lives, and you can't be found in any of these pictures. If this is important to you, then you should consider retiring as soon as you can. Now, the fourth reason it might be time for you to retire is that your best years are limited. When you are in your 30s, you think you have 60 years ahead of you. Let me tell you that time doesn't pass evenly year after year. It falls in large chunks, like chunks of ice off an ice cap. Many of these years between 30 and 50 are about building a family, working hard to provide for your family, paying for school, university, and when you're not at work is about taking care of the family. Once your kids are out of school, you look at your future and realize that you have about 10 to 20 years to figure out what you will be doing for retirement. Maybe you only saved up $100K in your 401k, but Wall Street is telling you that you need $2 million in order to retire. You have to save up $2 million, work 20 years in order for you to retire at 70. Is that what you want? Let's say that you watch other videos on my channel and decide to join FlipSystem and manage to build a solid passive income portfolio, and you are able to retire anytime you want. Now you're 60, still working, and you contemplate the future. It might seem like you have another 20 or more years ahead of you. Seems like a lot of years, but you have to understand that not all those years are created equal. You're going to be more energetic, healthier, and more able from, say, 60 to 65 than you will from 80 to 85. So it's not really 20 years that you have. How long will you have the energy, the mobility, and the health to do what you want to do, whether it will be travel, engage in sports, hobbies, and other activities? I met with a few people in their 60s who might be in a good position to retire, but they just keep working. They want to hit 70. They want to max out their Social Security benefit. It doesn't make sense to continue working for a few extra dollars a year. Enjoy life as early as you can before your health and your energy starts to decline. The fifth reason it might make sense for you to retire is you're financially ready. Now, I've been touching up on this during this whole video, and what I see most often are people who have significant wealth but haven't figured out that if they restructure their wealth, they would be able to retire in a couple of years. They think they're so far away from retirement, but if they made just a few changes, a few adjustments, they would be done. Others already have significant passive income, but it's very difficult for someone to spend 30 years in a workplace and then just retire suddenly. Work often defines who we are, and when we retire, we have to find a new identity and redefine who we are. We hear it all the time when people introduce themselves. I used to be a VP of development here, a CEO there. That stuff doesn't matter when you're playing tennis or golf, does it? It is difficult to let go of the responsibility, the authority, and the challenges, especially if you love your job and who you're working with. Your work may be fulfilling in a creative outlet, and that's wonderful. Maybe you should continue working as long as you can, assuming that you are still able to focus on things like friends and family. Even if you love your job, it's adding stress, taking a toll on your health, and keeping you from the activities that may excite you. Make sure that work fits into your vision of your ideal life. If work becomes your life at the expense of everything else, you are starting to realize that there's a huge cost to that. Make sure you never fall into the trap of work for work's sake. These are the 5 reasons it might be time for you to retire right now. And if you're resonating with any of these, but you're thinking you may not be financially ready to do so, then you should click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Watch the other videos on my channel and always feel free to DM me and I will respond. Talk to you next week.